Hello and welcome to Deconstructed, the show where we take a list that Watch Mojo's already done and then break it down entry by entry to see why things placed where they did. Today is a hate-fueled list because it is the top 10 games that people love to hate. Let's take a look at the ranking. Plenty to discuss, plenty that's already outdated because there's already been a year, so there's plenty of new stuff to hate. But let's meet the panel. Today with me is Ricky, our junior editor in the video games department, and Justin, who is a guy. He's
I'm
a
alive.
guy. Justin works as a script editor,
Yeah.
but he often covers the video game stuff and comic book stuff, all the cool stuff.
Yeah, I
get to do all the cool stuff.
I get to fun projects.
Cool. Gentlemen, before we get into the list, it's been like a year since this is published, so people are hating on a brand new thing.
Yeah.
Do you want to guess what it is? Or do you have any? I have, like...
Fortnite.
Fortnite.
Yeah.
Everyone hates Fortnite
Everyone
again.
hates it.
Except for the people who love it.
Yeah.
Who are
That's the two
more
sides.
numerous.
You either love it or
you
hate
hate it.
Yeah.
Or you're like, what's Fortnite?
Is it free to play?
It's free to... Yeah. Oh, you
That's
saw the
the
comment.
meme.
You saw the comment. We made an essay about Fortnite. You should watch it after this. But first, we can begin the countdown.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Dark Souls 2. So this one's near and dear to my heart. Andrew and I, Andrew, who's sometimes on the show, we used to live together. We used to be roommates, and this was our first Dark Souls game. Andrew loves this game to death, and now we've recently played. We tried to play the Prepare to Die edition, but now we played Dark Souls Remastered, and we can safely say that most of the complaints about Dark Souls 2 are unfounded. Yeah, I'm putting it out there. Dark Souls 2 underrated. Although we called it Game of the Year in 2014 or something. Yeah. Gentlemen, do you have anything to input? Because I can just talk about Dark Souls all day.
Well, I think some of the biggest things about this game that people disliked was the level design. A lot of people found that it was really confusing.
Well, it was like, okay, it's probably less confusing because it's less linear.
Right.
It's more linear.
Yeah.
The branches are, and the world doesn't like interconnect like a beehive, like Dark Souls 1 did, which are legitimate concerns, but not enough to say that the game is bad. There's a lot of things I think that this game does really well. It's just a little overstuffed, if you ask me. That's its biggest flaw. Like, it's not quite as tight as Dark Souls 1 or 3 are, but it's long. It's long AF. I get the sense that no ideas were left on the table. Everything got into the game.
Fair. I think the reason people love to hate this game is just because the Dark Souls series is so often talked about with like such a high praise.
Right.
I think people latch on to the fact that, well, it does have a bad game. There is the bad one.
Right, and the director of Dark Souls 1, 3, and Bloodborne.
Yeah.
I don't know what his name is, but anyway, what his other name is. We have to move on. We have to get to the next entry. So here we have a game that begs the question, what is a real RPG? Because people are like, Fallout 4, it's not a real RPG, which I kind of beg to differ. You guys want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. I think we talked about this, about Bethesda's RPGs being this, like, the character's supposed to be this kind of empty
shell
vessel. Yeah, because
Yeah.
people want to imprint that on them. And one of the biggest things about this game is that their character had a backstory.
Yeah. Character has a backstory. You're always a military veteran with a child and a family. And yeah, you're totally right. I think people try to sort of project what they feel their role-playing character should be onto their character, whether or not the dialogue options actually reflect that. And it really, really screwed that up. Fallout 4 really screwed that up. I still think some of the hate is unfounded. I know that's kind of an unpopular opinion on the internet. I liked Fallout 4 a lot.
I think part of it is like you said, a lot of people like pushed back against the idea of like, well, this character is like very developed before we even start playing
the dialogue
game. And the fact that he can speak and there's a voice actor and stuff like that. But Fallout 3 had kind of the same thing where you live through your whole life and then you start your journey. Like it sets up, it doesn't set up as much personality in your avatar, but it does give you like a very clear like motivation. You got to go find your dad.
It's very similar in setup, I think, at the end of the day. But I guess the thing that people really took issue with was how the dialogue options were kind of always shit.
Yeah.
It's always
sarcastic.
like yes, no, sarcastic.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Not much thought.
Would you like to know more? And I think, you know what? If they had simply put the text that you would actually say, I'm not sure that many people would have taken issue. Just because it showed a little too much of the system behind the scenes. They're just they showed you how they templatized all of the speech.
Right.
Whereas if they had put, like I said, just the text, it might not have been as obvious to people what was going on with the text.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Again, this is another game that I think is a bit maligned, and I liked a lot, and I could talk all day about it, but we're only at 9, gentlemen. We're only at 9, so let us move on. I clearly came up with this idea because it's literally all these games that I defend a lot.
They're all on the server too, by the way. You have playthroughs of all of them.
Yeah. So sorry, when Ricky says it's on the server, what we mean is that we have our own gameplay footage of someone playing through it. So okay. You guys want to give your thoughts on Mass Effect 3 before I blow this up?
I think Mass Effect 2 was actually just so brilliant that Mass Effect 3 kind of
Tough act to follow.
Tough act to follow. I thought it was, playing through it, I thought it was just a mistake or a misstep to make the stakes so high so early. You open that game and
the Reapers, they're here, man.
Oh, it's the end of the world. So I found what was cool about Mass Effect 2 is the game literally tells you, hey, take your time. You can go do the last mission right now if you want.
Yeah, you can.
Or get to know your coworkers, have some relationships, maybe they survive. This felt like very much, there's no time to dilly-dally. The end of the world is happening. Let's go. And I found that was a kind of a problem for me going through the game.
I mean, there was always the ending, which I can get to in a second.
Right.
I think you're right. What Mass Effect 2 did so well was that because it was focused on gathering the characters, it had a lot of interesting individual stories, none of which were strong enough to hold up a whole game.
Definitely not.
But you add them together, and they're more than the sum of their parts.
Right.
Whereas, because the story, we have to stop these aliens that are abducting humans because they're abducting humans and they're evil. That's not a good story. The story is actually not particularly good. It's that there's individually written stories within it.
Yeah.
But I also think, here's the thing, Mass Effect was never a game that really cared about your decisions. You let Rex live in Mass Effect 1, so he's there in this cutscene in Mass Effect 2, but if you didn't, you
just
swap
another
it out.
Krogan.
There's another Krogan in his place. Yeah. And that's symbolic for how all of the decisions worked. They were very good at tricking you into making you look like shit actually mattered. Yeah. You notice that all the people that could potentially die at the end of Mass Effect 2, aren't important characters in,
They did that on purpose, though.
Yes, you run into them and you could decide their fate, but they're entirely optional. So the characters that died for me don't show up in my game.
Fair enough. I mean, it would be a tall order to be let's design a whole second game for all the people who let those characters live. You know what I mean?
What I'm saying is Mass Effect 3 finally broke the illusion. Yeah. Your choices never really mattered. It always came down to a 1, 2, or 3. Yeah. But and finally showing people that was actually going on just broke everyone.
For sure.
Yeah. And they're unwilling to believe that that's what happened, had it been happening the whole time.
Yeah.
Sorry. Also, combat system was freaking superlative in this game. I think that's overshadowed by the controversy around the story.
It was improved in nearly every way, right?
Yeah. Let's do it. Next entry.
I totally wrote this list. I didn't write the actual entry, but this is all just me and Andrew bitching about the games that we think are underrated. Not underrated, but that got a lot of backlash for nothing.
And this one certainly did get a lot of backlash.
Error 37.
Error 37. Oh, well, Error 37. That's online games today.
Right.
I don't think that's not.
It was a big problem for a lot
damaging.
of people.
It was this game. Okay, here's the thing. And I don't think it's talked about a lot. I think the tone of this game was off. There was a lot of talk about rainbows being in the game, too much color, all that stuff before the game came out. That was a big joke, and they actually put an extra rainbow in the game, I think, just to screw with people even more. And that's not even the tone I'm talking about. I'm just talking about everyone sounded like they were ripped out of a Saturday morning cartoon. All of the characters. And this is a Diablo game, so in the end that doesn't really matter. What matters is the loot, and they fixed that at the end. So, in conclusion, yeah, I get it, but at the same time, nah. Also, I'm going to state for the record, people who say that the skill system in Diablo 2 was better and more like an RPG are stupid and wrong. this game has a fantastic skill system. Yes, you don't have to like put 20 points into strength before you can pick up the mace, but it's still the ability to mix and match, to synergize, to like pick your gear, and then like when they brought in the whole thing where you're absorbing powers, clearly I'm the only one that plays this. We can move on.
I played it when it first came out, and
Yeah.
I was really into it. And then I found out people didn't like it, and I was like, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's good.
fine.
It's a good game.
Isn't that funny though? When you're like, I like this thing, and then you find out that the
Nobody
Discourse
likes
hates
it.
Yeah.
I'm a
You're just like,
loser.
"Man, I'm really enjoying this videos by this Anita girl. Just kidding. Just kidding. Maybe we didn't need
Let's
to
move
include
on.
that. Let's move on. Let's go. So Dan continues to defend controversial RPGs.
You're still
The
playing.
list.
You're still playing Destiny.
Destiny 2.
Right.
I'm playing Destiny 2. And this actually shows how dated the list is because Fortnite should be on this list if I were to do it today.
Yep.
And
Destiny.
it would be Destiny 2 instead. Because everyone seemed to forget that, like, actually, that's not true. I think a lot of the criticism with Destiny 2 is silly. I think, okay, there is a lot of flaws with the game, and I think if you wanted to neckbeard it, and by that I mean like play it every day for 14 hours, you will run out of stuff to do.
Yeah.
You will retread content. That's fair. I do think that this game and our next entry created this sort of vicious cycle in the media where the media would like say like, oh, this is failing, and people are like, oh, I guess Destiny's failing. And then that would incentivize different publications to be like, whoa, there's a new error with this. Like, they report on bugs in Destiny 2 that you would never hear reporting on for anything else, just because it's popular to hate on this series.
It is. And part of that is because like so much was riding on the success of this game. The first one, yeah. Like so many people thought, oh, here's the new Halo, obviously, because Bungie was developing this new game. Oh, here's a Halo that's like an RPG. People were already making the Diablo comparisons because of the emphasis on loot. I played a ton of Destiny, the original. I got in during the Taken King kind of bug fixes.
So during the,
just when it started going up.
go
I was
back
like,
up.
all right, well,
Come
download.
on, Forsaken.
Jump on in.
Fix
Yes.
me, baby.
I think this is a fantastic RPG and a fantastic multiplayer game. I really, really like it. Like as an RPG, purely in the sense of like you're building your character, not so much in the story aspect.
Definitely
of
not.
Playing in the
Definitely not, because you're just like a mute
the story is like
shooter.
not there.
The second one, the story's there. Believe me, you're not
Yes.
missing much.
I played the story of the second one. This one just felt like it got cut content in the story. Like there was just chapters missing and characters missing.
I think you've read Jason Schreier's book too,
Yes.
Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. So yeah, that's essentially what happened. They took their story and they threw it out. It's just like, this is one of the most relevant entries still, if we're talking about Destiny 2. It's just like, it's still so popular to be like, people still play this game?
Yeah. But I don't think it's nearly as bad as people make it out to sound.
Which is basically, I think, the theme of this whole list.
Right.
Which is like, none of these games are nearly as bad as people say.
Yeah.
Especially our next entry.
All right.
So here's the game I won't defend quite as much, because I do think there was a lot of, like, there's not a lot to do in this game, and, you know, the marketing was a little deceptive. The PR push from Mr. Murray, I think his name was.
Yeah, Sean Murray.
Pretty, I can't really get up on a soapbox and just be like, you guys are all screwed, this game is great. But I will say the one piece of defense I will put forward, and it relates back to the theme of the list. People just love to hate on it. I just feel that, like, this was a game from an indie studio at the end of the day. And it was, you know, these guys were way in over their heads, I think, with their partnership with Sony. And I think we see the results of that. So I would kind of lay off the gas in terms of hate, but I can understand where the hate is coming from.
I think the one thing, the number one reason is people felt lied to, and their money felt like it was being taken from them, and they were given a product that they weren't promised. Like, this is not what people wanted, and it's not what people were told they were going to get, and that is okay. We spoke about the game. We know the gameplay is very bland and empty, and they said you'd be able to encounter other players, and that never happened. Like, you can go to a bunch of planets. There's nobody there. They're desolate planets. You're mining. You're managing your inventory.
Yep.
So not to I completely understand what you're saying. Like, take some of the flack off because of the studio and because they were kind of starting out. But at the same time, in defense of gamers and people who paid money for this game, there was a degree of honesty that just wasn't there. And you see Sean Murray on Stephen Colbert, kind of just like promoting this amazing, and he's like blown away.
That like Reddit thread thing,
Yeah.
like that's just like got all of his like all of the things that were like misleading or
They
untrue.
ripped him apart. You know?
So what I feel is like this. I feel like bringing it back to the subject, love to hate. I think people love to hate this one because it's so like there's such a one-to-one objective reason behind it. You're not disappointed with this, you're not disappointed with that. It's just like this is what was said and this is what was delivered.
Yeah.
So like even if things were, I don't think it's not even all bald-faced lies. It was just like very deceptive and okay, some of it was lies.
Some of it was
lies.
Yeah.
But like all to say that like it's just so objectively like poor in comparison to what was offered that like people are just like, well, this is something I can double down on with my hatred because like it's just like they feel vindicated.
Exactly.
There are some defenders of this game. They do exist.
There are a lot of defenders of this game.
Yeah.
I think especially like if you waited more than a week, you should know what you were getting.
Yeah.
So if you waited for those reviews to come in, it can be like a nice peaceful contemplative game. It's not Star Wars with Minecraft though.
Yeah, that was the other thing and the marketing really bothered me was the whole thing like you can be a pirate, you can just fly around, steal stuff from people, and then you just see footage of the game and it's like there's no one.
I did.
Who am I gonna steal?
While I was getting bored of the game, I did start to pick fights with freighters and stuff like that, which you do every so often see. They really make sure that it happens to you. Like every time you jump into a system, there's always the freighters that jump in later.
Yeah.
Like they I don't know if they've changed how that works now, but like for the first week I was playing, it was always like poof, poof, poof every time I came in because they wanted to make sure we put that in.
See the cool
it's
stuff.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep it going. Yeah. Five Nights at Freddy's.
FNAF.
FNAF. I got nothing.
Why do people love to hate this game? Well,
Because it's popular.
because it's popular.
It's because it's popular and there's not a lot there.
Yeah.
And I will say, okay, you know what? There's a lot of meat on this bone actually, because like it not only caught the wave of screaming Let's Players and
Yes.
YouTubers and
Yeah,
stuff like that,
yeah.
but it like perpetuated the cycle.
Right. It grabbed a
grabbed-
lot of people on its way up.
Yeah, exactly. It really like it was a game that might not have been made. The first one might not have been made for streamers, but the second one definitely was, and if not, the third one definitely was. You know, and I think it caught this trend of like sort of quickly made games and games that are made for jump scares just for screaming YouTubers, and that created this perfect storm of like just. I mean, I kind of get it. Like, I never really felt compelled to be like, Five Nights at Freddy's. It was just sort of like, no thanks. But
Yeah, it just missed me with that. But like a lot of it is also the fact that, it's one of those game series that is very vague about like what the story is, which encourages like hours and hours and like pages upon pages of like
fan
deep,
fiction,
deep
like,
readings of
lore
like
analysis.
Well, of course, Freddy is in fact like whatever. It's like he's a giant octopus in disguise. It's just one of those things where it's like, Jesus Christ, just play the game. Just play the game.
Like it was made just so Markiplier could shriek.
Yeah.
It was made for Markiplier.
I'd have to give it to Scott though for pumping out so many of these freaking games, dude. I mean, that guy's an animal, dude.
Yeah,
That's a lot of games.
I'm not exactly sure that's a point in his favor.
I don't know, man. He made
But
a
if
lot
it
of money.
works, he made a lot of money.
Made a lot of money. Marker of success.
There's toys of this now, so that is a thing.
Damn.
Like
That
Jack
happened.
in the Boxes.
Like little action figures.
That's pretty cool.
They exist.
Man,
That's
I'm
worth
not
noting.
impressed with action figures about video game stuff anymore. A few years ago, I was like, it's so sweet that we finally get action figures. But like now, I'm just like, crap.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Pumping it out.
All right, so I want to talk about MOBAs by talking about Battle Royale games because I feel like this spot has been supplanted by Battle Royale games.
Absolutely.
Which is like people just love to hate on the trend. So a few years ago, it's like, oh, everyone's making a MOBA. Blizzard's making a MOBA. Like DC Comics has a MOBA. That didn't last long.
No.
So, and now it's Battle Royale. So like, does anyone really hate MOBAs anymore? I don't feel like
I don't think people care about
dislike
them.
them, but they just don't care about them.
Yeah.
So what I think is really funny and we don't have to spend a lot of time on it. It's just like how quickly the flavor of the week develops a hatred, and then is like, we're hating the next trend this year.
Yeah. Whatever people want to play, like en masse, outside of the gaming community.
If you're not in that giant lump that's playing it.
Because that was the thing, like, you would hear just like people on the street being like, have you played this free game League of Legends? Like, it's really cool. And it's like the same thing is happening with Fortnite and with PUBG. And it's just incredible how an influx of new faces just like rattles people's cages. It's like, no, you cannot.
But like Fortnite is, it's such a sensation because it's transcended the barriers that MOBA had. Like MOBA was always very like a certain type of person playing it, and it's very like nerdy, and it's like
tough to get into.
Yeah,
right?
But Fortnite has completely
super accessible.
Yeah, super accessible. You have celebrities playing it. I mean, look at Ninja. How like the guy just has so many viewers and so much money because of this game. It's like there's colleges in the States who are starting an esports program.
Teams.
I saw it on CTV News.
But I guarantee in a few years we're gonna be like battle royales.
Yeah, there'll be something else that supplants it.
I mean, it might have the effect that a certain other entry on this list had on multiplayer gaming. I'm talking about Call of Duty, but we'll talk about that in a second. But like that literally changed the next generation, if not 2 generations. So maybe Fortnite will do that, but anyway, we're gonna have to talk about another bit of a craze with our next entry. So let's get to that.
Let's do it.
We're chasing trends to the end here because this was another big trend, took over the world, popular with younger demographic. I think that's another thing actually that really annoys gamers when people younger than them are driving a sensation because I don't know, because it drives things that aren't real. It makes things that they have grown out of popular. Although I don't know how you can grow out of Minecraft.
I think it's also
amazing.
the fact that it like makes the discourse be about like childhood and childlikeness. What's the word I'm looking for? I mean, it makes the conversation go like in age just go down.
Okay,
like you look at the coverage of Fortnite now, for example. Now we're gonna just keep harping on Fortnite, but it's a lot about like kids are playing this game too much. And if you're a really big Fortnite fan and you're like in your 20s, you're like, can we talk about like the cool stuff about this game and not
like,
the fact that like it's ruining children's like homework
it's
habits?
just like it's the new Tamagotchi or whatever.
It's the same thing with Minecraft. I feel like Minecraft had like this huge community, and then like it became like a thing where it's like you can actually teach kids about stuff in Minecraft, and it's like, but there's so much. Can we talk about the other stuff?
I just think that like there's a drive to hate things that are liked by kids.
Absolutely.
And I don't and I feel like I don't want to blame teenagers, but I think there's this idea that like that people want their hobby to be validated, and they don't like it to be bogged down in stereotypes about it not being real or for adults or something like that. And I think that is why you get a lot of pushback on things like Five Nights at Freddy's, which is really popular with kids, or Minecraft. Because, also, maybe some people just don't like playing with children, which is, again, understandable, I suppose.
Which is a big thing about our next entry as well.
Yeah. Hey man, does no one pay attention to M for mature ratings anymore?
Seriously. No, their parents buy the games for them.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Call of Duty, it looks like a fun, nice game for Timmy.
Damn it, let's get to that entry. God.
We've all played it.
We've all played it. It's popular. Popularity breeds hate. End of discussion. No, I mean, here, I feel like this has really come full circle this year because we're talking about like big trends and that people hate how they hate trends, and then things that people have been hating for a very long time, which is Call of Duty, again with the popularity thing, and now they're getting mashed together with Blops 4 because he's probably getting a thing.
Battle Royale.
A battle royale.
Battle
That's
Royale.
the thing. Holy hell! I just got completely distracted.
Your watch was like, what time is it?
My watch was just like, you're screwing this up. Like, I am.
It's a smart watch.
Before the battle royale craze, why do you think people hated Call of Duty so much?
Oh my God. Well, number one, the kids, the mom
younger
jokes.
audience.
Yeah, the younger audience is definitely like at the top of the list. People like I personally never played with chat for that reason. I hated people screaming in my ear. I hated when there was like someone on the mic and there was like their entire family in the background. Like it would destroy my concentration. So I wouldn't even do that. And I think that's really one of the biggest things. Like it's a meme on like Xbox, kids on Xbox just calling your mom gay. It's like
No you.
No, you.
No,
yeah,
you,
it's
yeah.
oh man, that's a big one.
But I think that like that's kind of a side effect of popularity, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Like the more popular something is, naturally more children will see it. More children will have access to it.
I think another thing that people really harp on for this game is the fact that there's one every
Every
single
year.
year.
Yeah.
Just like it's just saturated. Like at this point, I don't even know how many there have been. Like I remember when they were numbered. I remember playing COD 4 and being like, "This is the fourth.
This is the fourth one.
fourth
Wow, they're running out of ideas.
Yeah.
They're bled this one to death.
And that was when it was still very cool.
2007. That was 10 years
I
ago.
loved it, man.
It was
I
still
played-
really cool to like Call of
Man.
Duty. I played that game a ton, and it was
Yeah.
great. And then I think that was the real like watershed moment where they were like, here is a direction for this game. Like, let's really double down on the fact that like there's like levels and things you unlock and stuff like that. And then it just became, well, how can we like package that year after year after year?
Yeah, they looked at what EA does with NHL, and it was like, why can't they be using guns instead of hockey
And
sticks?
fair enough. I mean, like that's fair, but you're at the same time you're inviting the same kind of criticism. It's not like people don't say that about those sports games.
Listen, here's the thing. Like, one thing that I think gamers have a tough time understanding is that like there are certain products within gaming that are not meant for them. You know, like, and I think that's where a lot of the hate comes from. You know, like, great, you don't like Minecraft, you're sick of seeing articles. Cool, not for you, dude. That's fine.
yeah.
There's like plenty of people that can play Minecraft. And I think Call of Duty, because it sort of started as a real game, and then sort of, or what we consider to be a real game,
Right.
and then through no fault of its own, it hasn't really evolved in that way. But it's just like the gamers have evolved beyond it, and it stayed the same, catering to kind of a lower common denominator than what I would call hardcore gamers.
Right.
And I think that has really irked gamers. So gamers, like the hardcore crowd, they look at it and they're like, it's the same damn thing every year. They're not making games for me. What the shit?
Yeah.
They're like, it's stupid. Why are people buying this? And I think a lot of the hate comes from that idea, this thing that you're just like, they're making so much money off this thing that really isn't good for hardcore gamers, but it's not for you.
No.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And or it's not to say that if you love Call of Duty, you're not a hardcore gamer, but
There are plenty of hardcore gamers that like play these games year after year. I know that for World War II, it got a lot of people back into that
got a
series.
lot of bump.
Yeah.
And this one might do it again. Ops 4.
Yeah.
People love the Black Ops like series in general.
It's so funny that within the franchise, it has its own franchise.
Yeah.
Guys, I guess that's it. We've talked to death about current events. Are there any other games you like to think that people love to hate on?
Sonic games.
Well,
Sonic games.
I mean, there's a reason.
Yeah, well, there's a reason for all these.
Actually, Dave, one of our
Yeah, Dave, who's often on the show, brought up that we almost accidentally included Sonic 06 on this list.
yeah, we took it out because
Which was completely against our criteria, because our
Right.
criteria is like games that are successful and good, but that people hate anyway.
Yeah, and Sonic just
I think as a
Ooh, I guess No Man's Sky kind of breaks that criteria too. Well, a bit, depending on
a bit.
which top
But like
game you're
everything
watching.
else, it has its defenders, right? No Man's Sky has its defenders. There are people who, to this day, think that all those Sonic games, with some exceptions, have been great, and that just people hate on them because it's popular to hate on Sonic games.
Lyric is an underrated villain. And with that, I will let you go. Everyone watching at home, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, but you probably are doing that, right? Comment what you think a game gets too much hate for what it really is. Big thank you to Justin and Ricky.
Thank you.
I'll see you next week, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching Mojo Plays. Be sure to subscribe and click on the link in the description below to check out our suggestion page and vote on what content you'd like to see us cover next.